What's going on, guys? Foster here, and I am back with another video. In today's video, I'll be doing an in-depth Trundle Jungle guide. Trundle is up next out of the list. People voted for the order of champions to come out. If you guys want to vote for those as well in the future, make sure to hit the notification bell, check out the community tab. Every poll that goes live will last for 24 hours. Whoever has the most votes after that will win. And yeah, be the next guide really. So if you're interested in that, make sure to do so. Also, if you are interested, there is a Discord community for, like, I just made a server. I revamped my old server really. If you want to come hang out there, make sure to do so as well. There's a link in the description, and yeah, I'll see you there. Ask questions there, just hang out really. And with all that being said, let's get right into the guide. Now for Trundle, the main two options are press the attack or phase rush. However, press the attack is a lot better in early game pressure situations if you are just facing a bunch of like champions that you aren't able to do much against in the early game. Then phase rush does scale better just for positioning purposes, and that would be the only situation there. But generally speaking, press the attack is better to just have a better early game. And that's really what makes Trundle very strong, is his early game. He will scale into the later stages of the game to be more of a supportive tank style. He will be very good into enemy tanks. So if the enemy picks a tank jungler, Trundle is an extremely good counter pick to that, because his ultimate reduces the armor and magic resist, making them essentially squishies instead of tanks. And yeah, press the attack will allow you to fight a lot of junglers in the early 1v1s on Scuttle, which will allow you to double Scuttle and overall pressure them off of that. So press the attack is really what you want. Then Triumph is the ideal follow-up for this, because you are still playing a tanky champion or just a frontliner and someone that wants to soak as much damage as possible. And having Triumph with this is a perfect synergy, because you will gain 12% of missing HP on takedowns. So if the team fight goes on, you soak a lot of damage, the enemy team starts dying, then Triumph will heal you back up and allow you to survive a lot longer. So that's definitely ideal there. Now moving on here, you have the tenacity generally to just avoid a lot of CC. Not really avoid, but just like reduce a lot of CC to make sure that you can keep moving in fights, keep positioning yourself close to your carry, and just allowing placing good pillars, allowing the enemy to not close the gap on your carries and everything like that. If the enemy team, however, doesn't really have any hard CC, then you can also just opt to go for the attack speed. Attack speed is never a bad thing. Getting more auto attacks off, especially in earlier game team fights, is a very, very good thing with Trundle because of his high base damage and then just, yeah, damage in general, really. Now on Trundle Last Stand's pretty much the most ideal one. You're looking to, if you are looking to fight people early, then fights can get close. You will do a lot of additional damage with Last Stand, making those early 1v1s a lot more important. Last Stand doesn't necessarily do a whole lot for you later in the game. But then again, these other two don't really do anything for you either, because it's not like you have a lot of burst to be able to use this as effectively, so it's better to just have the damage increase from this. Now the secondary tree, the best combination is Nimbus Cloak and Water Walking. The reason this is the best combination is because this will allow you to have the most pressure on early game Scuttle Crab fights and just early game skirmishes in general. Having a Nimbus Cloak alongside Red Smite's very, very good, because then you can catch up to people extremely easily with your pillar, your W, and then also Nimbus Cloak on top of that. And then Water Walking will just make you as strong as possible for any Rift Herald, Dragon, and Rift Scuttle fights. Also allowing you to have more counter gank potential, and will also be able to gank a lot more effective through the river as well. So this is definitely the most ideal secondary combination. Now if you do opt to go for phase rush in situations where you aren't really able to fight people early on with press the attack, maybe you have very weak laners and everything like that, or very slippery enemy team, then phase rush can be very valuable as well. But phase rush page looks like phase rush, Nimbus Cloak again for the same reason. Then you go celerity and Water Walking. The reason you want celerity is to synergize with basically all the move speed you have here. Also the move speed from your W will help a lot with this as well. And then here again you can go for Triumph and Tenacity, or Triumph and Last Stand if you want some extra damage. But generally just Tenacity is very valuable. The tree here is attack speed for initial jungle clear, and then go adaptive force with armor or magic resist depending on the enemy team. And yeah, that's basically it for Trundle's runes. If you have any questions on this, make sure to put those in the comments below, and I'll move on to the item build now. Alright, so for the item build on Trundle, we have the Hunter's Machete as a starting item, and then a refillable potion. You want to start with Hunter Machete always, because the ideal situation is you want to clear 3, maybe 4 camps on Trundle. That is both your buff camps and Gromp, with maybe Wolves included if there isn't any real action on the map yet, or any like instant gank opportunities. So this is just the item that will allow you to do that fastest. And yeah, now moving on from this, you want to get the Red Smite upgrade. This synergizes really well with Nimbus Cloak and also makes you better in 1v1 duels at all times. This alongside your Q, attack damage reduction stuff, that will make it pretty much impossible for any AD champion to 1v1 you in the early game. So champions like Kha'Zix, Lee Sin, Set, stuff like that, just anything that really does AD damage will have a difficult time against you, and that will make it like so you can be very, very oppressive early on. The main item you want to rush into is the Cinderhawk upgrade. This will make you a lot more tanky, as well as giving you the burn effect to allow you to clear the Krugs and Raptors a lot more easily. It will also do a good amount of damage additionally to the Barons and Rift Heralds, and yeah. So this is a very, very solid item, making you extremely tanky, giving you your jungle clear speed, and basically that. Now, from the build onwards from this point, Trundle is basically just a supportive champion, so any support items are very, very good on him. You don't necessarily need to build super tanky to be tanky because of your ultimate, so you can use your ultimate to steal a lot of additional armor and magic resist to make yourself even more tanky. Boots options are ninjas or mercs, depending on the enemy team. If they do have a lot of CC, you can go mercs. In any other case, go ninjas because it has bigger damage reduction. Now, from here on out, it is just down to supportive type of items. Supportive tank items are the most ideal thing. You can opt and build just a straight up tank item like Thornmail just initially. This will reduce a lot, reflect a lot more damage to the enemy. Also, if you're facing something like Rammus, the bonus armor thing is a big thing, because if you ult them, the bonus armor you get from them will be an insane amount, like something like 400 or 500 bonus armor you can get up to with that. So like Thornmail for that will be very damage efficient as well, so that could be an option. But generally, items like Knight's Vow to put on your hyper carries, like a Vayne, like a Kai'Sa, stuff like that, putting a Knight's Vow on them, giving them locket shields, giving them Zeke's Convergence, which you can use as well very effectively, is very, very good. Other items like Frozen Heart are valuable too, for just the reduced attack speed on the enemy team, also giving you a lot of extra armor. CDR is nice, but it's an option if the enemy team has a lot of attack speed based champions. It could be worth going for. Generally speaking though, a build setup like this, just going for all of the supportive tank items is just the best way to go, because this will make you tanky enough, but then again, with this alongside your ultimate will make you so tanky that it doesn't matter that you went for a very cheap setup like this. That's also another great thing about this build setup, is like right here, the Knight's Vow and the Zeke's will be very beneficial to one of your teammates. Of course, you can also offer a global shield to your teammates, which is very, very good. And then an item you can pick up as well is like a stone plate to go with this. So a full build would look something like this. This is a 6 item, extremely cheap build. No item passes 2500 gold. So this also allows you to not clear your jungle camps or have to clear your jungle camps as efficiently, and just very easily scaling through a game. This is why Trundle, why this build specifically is very beginner friendly. It doesn't require you to have perfect jungle mechanics, perfect jungle rotations is not necessary. Your build is cheap, the playstyle is fairly straightforward, and yeah, overall this would be the most recommended setup to go for. You can of course vary with what you get first, but just a supportive setup like this, and then just using your ultimate to steal as many stats from enemy tanks to make them squishier and everything, and just make yourself more tanky is very, very good. Now there are situations where you are required to deal a little bit more damage, or if your team is a full attack damage team, so let's say your team just has an 80 mid, 80 top, 80 everywhere, then an item that you can definitely opt to go for is a Black Cleaver. This isn't as much an offensive option as it is a supportive option, because this will help your team in reducing the armor from the enemy team. So this will be a very good pickup that you can go for after like the initial jungle item boots combination. You can go pick up a Cleaver if you are a full attack damage team on your side. Then this will help shred the armor for your teammates, and then you can still opt to go for some defensive supportive items. After that, you can also, if you are doing extremely well or just getting all the kills and maybe you want to snowball this through, you can go for Blade of the Rune King after this, and then a Guardian Angel, Strix, stuff like that. Just you can still do a good amount of damage, so there's no underestimating that either. So a setup like that would work. If you are going purely damage on Trundle, which is an option as well, if you prefer that playstyle, you can go for the Warrior enchant, which will give him a stronger 1v1 than Cinderhulk would. And already Trundle's 1v1 is very strong, so that's an option there. So you can go for like Warrior, Boots, Black Cleaver, Blade of the Rune King, Strix, and just go for a setup like that, ending that with like a Guardian Angel to make yourself tanky. And that will just be a setup there. So really, that's pretty much all you really need to know about Trundle. If you're going for a tanky setup, just pick these items. Like honestly, these 6 items will just work perfectly fine every game. You don't have to vary from this. It's cheap, it is highly effective, and it's just something to opt for. And yeah, if you guys have any questions on Trundle's build, make sure to put those in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer those questions for you. If you've enjoyed this video so far, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button as well. And let's move on into the gameplay section now. Alright, welcome to the gameplay section of this guide. As you can see, it's Trundle against Lee Sin. Now, Trundle has a pretty okay time against Lee Sin, since it's not as easy for Lee Sin to like 1v1 Trundle, since Trundle does steal attack damage. And he's pretty tanky in and of itself, especially if you have your ultimate. You can just use it on the Lee Sin, steal his stats, and then you'll be even more difficult to kill. So overall, he has a pretty good time surviving. He can get out farmed a lot if Lee Sin does go for like a Tiamat setup and clears, like just consistently clears really fast. Lee Sin has more playmaking potential, but Trundle has a more peel type of defensive setup or engage setup, maybe in for team fights. Trundle is very good with hyper carries like Vayne that you see on the team right now. Yon is also a very good carry as well. It's mainly for zoning potential and also people that dive onto the AD carry. Trundle can ult them, especially if they are tanks. If the enemy team is like a Rammus or a Sejuani or anyone with Aftershock, really, the moment Aftershock goes, Trundle just ults, and then he gains a bunch of stats whilst they lose stats, and then you can really easily like burst through tanks. If you use your E properly on engaged tanks like Hecarim, or engaged champions like Hecarim, they go in, you put the E behind them, their team is not able to follow up, you press ult on them and stuff like that. So it's really ideal if you have hyper carries like Vayne on your team to play Trundle as well, because you can really easily peel for them. And also with your item build as well, of course, you can just support them completely. Now, starting off with Trundle, you can do either side. You can do blue start, red start, doesn't matter. Ideally on Trundle you want to go for a 3, maybe 4 camp clear. You can go 3 camp for the red, blue Gromp, and you can as well put wolves in between. If you like see the opportunity or don't see an opportunity to gank as much, then wolves in between are also an option. You don't necessarily want to do Raptors or Krugs early on, because you do need your Cinderhulk or your Bami Cinder really to be able to clear those effectively, since you are just a bunch of single target damage. You don't have any AoE potential. So yeah, just until you get your Bami Cinder, you just want to make sure that you pressure the map, maybe invade, go for double scuttles, because Trundle is very good at that. If you're facing champions that are just not able to kite you, and AD champions at that, you can steal their attack damage and just have a massive advantage on them in the 1v1. So any champion like Lee Sin, like Kha'Zix, like just Rengar, even melee AD champions, they're just gonna really get destroyed. If you're facing AP champions, it will depend on what you're facing. If you're facing like an Elise, you might have more problems, but if you're facing like an Evelyn, then you can easily again go for like a double scuttle pressure as well. Getting that early game pressure on this champion is very important, because this will put the enemy jungler in a more difficult position. Because as a champion yourself, you do not scale as well. You scale for your team. So you're a tanky support champion that does really well in the early game, so you can put a lot of pressure. But for like if you can then put like enemy junglers behind with that pressure, it's going to be more difficult for them to gank, more difficult for them to put your team behind, and at that point it's going to be easier to win for you later on if you play your team fights properly. So as you can see, the Trundle right now goes for a 4 camp clear. As I mentioned, he probably didn't see an opportunity, or just like figured he wanted to go for a 4 camp clear. Right now he's done with his clear. potential ganks could be this Lux. He does have a Syndra against him. Syndra has a nice stun. Lux is also fairly low. You could flank from behind here. Another option is this wave is massively pushing towards Yone. So an option could be as well to go for the top lane gank on Olaf because of the wave is pushing, and he might be able to like open up some space from for the Yone. Actually, Olaf has already used his teleport. Oh, I didn't even realize the Yone killed him. Alright, well, anyway, like, he could definitely go top lane, help the Yone push this out, give Yone a back without using his teleport, or maybe even kill the Olaf. Both of these ganks would be fine, so let's just see what he goes for, really. It looks like he walks up towards the Olaf. It's perfectly fine. Right now, this is ideally how you want to gank with Trundle. If you can get in range to auto attack and then use your like E later on, that is pretty good as well. Like usually if they tend to flash, you can then use your E to block them and then catch up with them again after the flash. If that is a possibility, then you should try to go for that. But also if you don't have the opportunity to get in range, you can just use your E like he does right now and just to pop him out closer to force a flash out potentially, or just, well, yeah, catch up to them really. Now make sure that with Trundle always you auto attack Q, then like auto attack first then Q, because it's an auto attack reset, so that's a very important thing to do. He press the attack and Olaf loses a good amount of HP. Like any damage Olaf takes right now and any potions he has to use is actually an advantage to the Yone. So this gank is a lot more effective than you might think it is. Also, since there's nothing for him to really farm because he was on the top side of the map, this is down. These camps, I mean, he had to walk all the way down. And the Scuttle wasn't going to spawn for a little while. This gank would have been completely fine either way. But Olaf now has lost half his HP, he has his potion sticking, and Yone still has his teleport, which means, well, he hasn't backed yet, he has a kill. So if he teleports back to the lane after a gank like this, he will have a massive advantage. So that's also something to take into consideration. Now, right now, as Trundle, you can quite literally just pressure for the Scuttle. It looks like Lee Sin didn't even do his red buff yet, which is pretty interesting. I don't see why he wouldn't have done it. He cleared his bottom 3 camps and just maybe he like skipped on red buff. I don't know. I mean, it's a master tier game, I think, but something like that. But yeah, he doesn't have red buff, so he has absolutely no chance of fighting Trundle at all. If he would have had red buff, there was a small chance, but then you also have to keep in mind that the Syndra has priority over the Lux right now, so Lee Sin wouldn't be able to contest. And well, Olaf just killed Yone. I think that's just really greedy from Yone. He should have just backed some time ago because he does have the TP advantage. Either way, the Trundle gets the Scuttle here and then will probably opt for the double Scuttle as well, since there's absolutely nothing Lee Sin will be able to do about it. Lee Sin also, if you noticed, walked up here. He didn't have red buff, so he's just assuming that Lee Sin is going to be on his red, which is probably correct. I can check. Yep, he's on his red buff. So Trundle has the opportunity to just quickly go for the double Scuttle, which will give him a very good advantage early on. Sees a fight going on bot lane. Instead of going for the Scuttle, goes for the fight with Syndra, which is of course fine. Like always, if there's something going on, make sure to react to it. Camps will wait. Even if Lee Sin takes a Scuttle now, this is a really worth it trade to just get a kill for it. So sees the Lee Sin on top lane, killing the Yone. Yeah, I don't know. Yone kind of put himself behind by not using his teleport advantage on the Olaf at some point. However, Trundle plays this very, very well by going to counter jungle Lee Sin's bot side. He knows it's up. He also knows that Lee Sin started on blue buff, so these are upgraded camps. As you can see, this guy's level 4 right now. His wolf camps will most likely level up as well, so he can definitely take at least his Gromp and potentially just his wolves as well, because Lee Sin just, well, he was just spotted top lane killing the Yone. So that's exactly what this guy's going to go for. And then as you can see as well, clearing that camp, he leaves one of the small wolves alive, so the camp doesn't level up. As soon as Lee Sin gets there, he will have to clear the small wolf, and that will stall time for the level up effect. So this is all very, very good. The only thing he has now is he has 1550 gold in his inventory, so he should definitely look to backs very soon. Right. Okay. Sees a fight going on mid lane. Let's look at the fight in mid lane. Lux is getting very, very low. With Trundle, it's very easy. If you land your pillar on anybody, you get an assist for free, which is pretty nice. If they walk through the slowing field of your pillar, you already get an assist. So I guess he just opted for that. He saw the Lux and the fight going on, so he opted to go mid lane instead of backing, which is fine. And then right now they trade 1 for 1, but this is a worth it trade since Trundle also gets the assist on the Lux. So it's a kill for a kill and an assist, and that's never a bad thing really. And then here make sure to push out the wave as well as soon as you get the kill on a laner. Alright, he now starts backing at 1900 gold. It's a little late. I would recommend you to back, well, at least the moment you can get your Bami Cinder, because that will just allow you to clear these AoE camps a lot easier. But if there's stuff going on the map, which there has been, so it's not bad. Alright, now he's clearing his bot side of the map, and again he was clearing his camp, but a very important thing to note here is that as soon as something goes on, you want to stop clearing your camp instantly. So he's like, their bot lane is going to check the dragon now, which is very good from the bot lane, making sure that they get vision when they have the wave pushed out. They could like linger around here and push the wave, or like hit some minions here or there. That doesn't do anything. They actually went to take vision. See what Lee Sin's doing. Lee Sin spotted on dragon. He instantly drops his camp. As a jungler, this is very important. Like, unless the camp's like 1 auto attack away from killing, or like 2, then just drop the entire thing. You can get back to it later, especially because this camp's still level 1, so it's not even worth that much. See, going on, he just eased the Lee Sin, stops him in his place, forces him to flash, which is good, and then that really allows them to just take the dragon for free. So that's a very good setup play from the bot lane right there. Now he really needs to start looking towards clearing like just some of his camps, because his entire jungle rotation is up right now. His red is respawned, his like everything is up. Basically his blue's gonna respawn extremely soon as well. Yona's taking top scuttle, which is fine. So he definitely needs to look for something there. Let's see. Alright, returns to this camp, takes red buff, which is good. And I'm sure he will just go and put this camp with a level 1. The camp right now is level 1, it's 8 minutes in, so ideally he'd just clear the big and the small one and walk away. It's not worth sticking around for a very long time to kill this camp completely now, because it's still a level 1 camp at 8 minutes in. It's not going to give him a whole lot of experience if he could just kill the big small one once and then just walk away. It will respawn, level up, and you will get it. Yeah, as you can see, he did that exactly. He just killed the camp, walked away, and then goes and opts for his blue buff. He sees an opportunity here with the Olaf being pushed up, which is very good. If you see any lanes like this that are just pushed up like this, the Olaf, for example, in this position right here, or if the Lux would be like right here, and you do have an opportunity to gank that lane, which is perfect for him right now with his blast cone gank, he can just go for it. It's definitely something you want to look for, because as Trundle, like your farm is it's good, but it's not everything, because you are building like a supportive tank, and that's the way you want to play as well. So if you can give your lanes or your carries a better lead or help them out, that's a lot better. Or just shut down enemy carries, of course, as well. That will do more for you generally than like 1 camp or 2 camps. Also because your build's quite cheap as well. So right there, he like the river was warded, so the Olaf pretty much instantly walked away. He definitely needs to look there, and he's definitely going to look for his camps right now. Backing up the Yasuo, or sorry, the Yone, to like let him clear, or maybe go aggressive on the Olaf. Olaf just ults though, kind of denying all the CC and making it pretty much impossible for them to chase or kill them. There's a fight going on mid lane, so he instantly just runs there as fast as he can. Notice what you saw as well, he just uses W. If you're running to fights or just situations, or through your jungle in general, try to keep using your W, like for clearing camps, but then also positioning. Like let's say you are clearing your raptor camp, right, and you just want to use your W to then place it in a position that will walk you through your wolf camp. So it has the most, like you can still use it to clear your camp, but then it also gives you the biggest distance walking to your wolf camp, so you can save some efficiency on clearing right that way. Right, Olaf teleports in, Trundle shows up. Olaf does quite a good amount, of damage doing Olaf things. Picks up a turret plate, which is good, and then goes for bot scuttle. He definitely has a lot of gold. He needs to back here, which he does, which is very good. Picking up his Cinderhawk. At this point, he can really easily one-shot all his camps So if he does go for like more of a jungle clear speed based thing, it's very good. In this case, however, the Thresh wanted to go gank top lane. Trundle follows him, which is very essential if your support wants to go gank somewhere. As a jungler, it is 9 times out of 10 just a very good idea to follow the support like that, especially when you go in the higher elos, because people like supports in very high elo will just do this a lot. If you are playing like a Trundle or like a Lee Sin or Elise or stuff like that, that just looks to gank more and isn't necessarily as reliant on farming efficiency and clear speed as much, then following any ganker support does and just leaving camps up is pretty worth doing. So the Thresh opts to go for the gank. He gets the like Lantern to give Trundle a good position as well, using his mobility to boost to a good advantage there. Cutting off the Olaf and pretty much just killing the Olaf instantly, because there's not much he could have done. Now Dragon will be spawning quite shortly, so I'm pretty sure they'll just rush for it, yep. They just walk to the Drake. Now the only issue here is that the Syndra just died. So if this fight were to go on right now, then the enemy team will definitely have an advantage as of right now. Because if the Olaf runs from base, goes to Dragon, Yone is half HP currently and isn't backing. He does have teleport, but he's not backing. So if he were to teleport now, he'd come in at half HP, which definitely isn't good. And then also the Syndra is dead, so they'll have a man advantage in that as well. So this is a situation where you would ideally want to stall the Drake as much as possible and don't start it. Maybe gank bot lane for they keep overextending here still, so this is a very good situation to just go gank bot lane. If you start Dragon in a position like this, the Yone will not be able to react. He needs to reset first. It's going to take a lot of extra time. Syndra was in base, so they have a man advantage at least. And yeah, so definitely smart play here not to start Dragon. He's going to opt for the bot lane gank because they didn't respect it and they just kept pushing bot lane, which is very greedy, I'd say, from the Ezreal Yuumi. Vayne, however, mispositions a little bit and does get one shot really, which isn't ideal. Yone teleport comes in. I don't think this fight's gonna go end very well. Yeah, no. That ended pretty poorly. This is like probably the worst outcome they could have had. The Vayne went a little bit over aggressive and took a lot of like the upfront damage from the Ezreal Yuumi there, which definitely didn't help. She needed to stay back a little bit more. Syndra also wasn't there yet, and Deluxe was, so they had a bigger advantage there. Yone did teleport in, but it was still an equal fight because Syndra wasn't there. Olaf now has free reign on top lane. Probably will get first or at top lane. And if the enemy team just goes for Dragon here, that'd be the best play. I don't know exactly why they're not just rushing it. Alright, Lee Sin, that's a little bit weird. Ideally, the enemy team right now, after a play like this, should have instantly ran to the Dragon because it was just a Syndra. She would not be able to defend that. She wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Yone died, Trundle died, the bot lane was also dead. They had definite advantage in a situation like this, so they should have rushed the Dragon, and they didn't even start it. Alright. Olaf, however, does get the first turret top lane, which gives him quite a lot of gold right there. Now, I mean, at this point, the Trundle should definitely play for the Dragon because the enemy team didn't take it. So that's definitely something to look for. Also, right there, Trundle being Trundle with his ultimate. Like, this is ideal positioning in any team fight for Trundle. If you can make a catch happen like this, just try to stand in front, taking as much damage as possible, using your ultimate to make yourself more tanky. As you can see from the stats right here, as you just saw from Lee Sin. Using his ult. Right now we just look at the moment he ults, just look at Trundle's armor magic resist first. As you can see, this goes up, this still rises, and Lee Sin's armor magic resist drops. If you have an aftershock user on the enemy team and they proc aftershock, let's say Rammus procs aftershock, he goes in, press W. He gets 700 armor, 600 magic resist. Trundle ults that is like game over. Really, so that's why Trundle is a very hard counter to tanks. If you steal the armor magic resist, it'll just make you so tanky. Any aftershock user on the enemy team, try to use it on them the moment it procs. That is the most ideal situation for it. I mean, ideally it would be on a tank that engages, but it also can be on like supports like Thresh, as you can see. If Thresh makes an engage, you can also just ult the Aftershock Thresh for a lot of extra armor and magic resist, making you even more tanky. Now the enemy team off of making a very big mistake not going for the dragon right after they killed the Trundle and everything bot lane. Now lose the dragon, which puts them in a pretty bad position. They are still ahead in gold, but as of right now, off of that mistake of not just rushing the dragon after winning that fight, they're actually gonna be struggling a little bit more, especially since Vayne will outscale. So yeah. Alright, it's pretty much impossible for Syndra out 1v1 the Trundle there. The moment you land one of the Qs and reduces attack damage by a lot, there's not a whole lot they'll be able to do. Now for Trundle, his entire jungle is up, so he definitely needs to look towards clearing his camps, which I'm sure he'll do right now. He opts to go for the Rift Herald. I don't think this is a very good play either, because as you can see, again, Syndra died. Vayne is not in a position to follow this. Thresh is right here. Yone is about to back. If he goes for this and gets collapsed on by the enemy team, he basically instantly loses the Rift Herald and loses the fight. Probably dies as well because he gets cut out for no team backup. So this is a very risky play, especially if he doesn't have any vision or any control wards really. So, sees a fight going on the mid lane, instantly drops the Rift Herald, which is good. Places the pillar in an awkward position. Does walk in to get caught out, so that wasn't the most ideal positioning from him right there. But that's like not bad. Like this is still fine. He'll become more and more tanky, like getting more assist items, support items, and his team will definitely outscale because they just have a much better late game comp. So in any situation, if the game is equal like it is right now, like the enemy team is like 2k gold ahead, but they have 2 dragons, so it's fairly equal. They will most likely pull this out later in the game, especially with Trundle playing teamfights properly. Olaf walks forward. Yuumi they get the kill. Yuumi does die. Tries to make a catch with the pillar. Right here, as you can see, the so tries to initially catch with the pillar. He placed it a little bit too far that way. If he placed it like right here, it would have prevented Lux from walking this way. She would have been stuck here really. She would have had to walk all the way around, which would have been a little bit better, making the catch a little easier. Vayne goes over the wall and Olaf chases the Syndra. There's not a whole lot Trundle will be able to do in a situation here. However, going for the Lux and helping the Vayne is definitely something Trundle can do something about, so he's going for that instead. You need to know when to go for what. Now, the Olaf is still in a very bad position. If Syndra just walks away over the wall here, the Olaf shouldn't be able to chase because he doesn't have his flash up. And, well, okay, he dies there. But now at this point, the Vayne will be able to still pick up the Olaf as well. Now, this is actually a decent time to go for the Rift Herald if the Vayne would follow, which she doesn't. So starting here again is quite risky. There's not a whole lot he would be able to do if the enemy team collapses on him right now, because he doesn't have the backup from his team currently. Something you need to keep in mind constantly. If you're doing any type of objectives, if your team, you look at the positioning of your team, look at the positioning on the map. If your team is resetting or not following things up, not backing you up for certain plays, especially playing Trundle because you're not like a 1v9 monster. Like it's not like you're playing like, I don't know, Kha'Zix really. If Kha'Zix goes in, you can maybe pull out 1v3 or something like that if you're going for a place like this. You also have better clear speed on objectives with that champion, so there's a difference. If you're playing like a tanky support type, you need to play with your team and you need to play around them as well. So anytime your team doesn't want to follow or doesn't have the position, you need to make sure that you wait for that. Alright, here for this team fight, he is using his pillar and just taking the attack damage from people here and there. He's not sticking to the front line as much. You just want to make sure that you throw one Q on targets. Again here, Qing the Olaf once, or he should have done, which he didn't. If he Q'd the Olaf once there, he would have taken some attack damage from him, making it more difficult for him to deal damage, which is definitely ideal. Sticking with his Vayne as much as possible. Whether he is like full HP or not, sticking with your Vayne, and if people dive on your Vayne, you can Q them. That will reduce their attack damage, will reduce the damage onto your carry, which allows your carry to just put out more damage in general. Again, going for the Rift Herald, I mean, it's fine. However, I do think this, like, the guy really prioritizes his Rift Herald a lot. The dragon here, however, is a very, very good rotation. The enemy team was positioned towards the top side of the map, so if they really run down and rush the dragon as soon as possible, they should be able to take this for free, which I'm pretty sure they will. They will, yep. Now, as you can see, again, just like positioning the entire time on this champion is stand next to your carry at all times. Peel for them, use your pillar for them, make sure the chomp targets that get close, ult targets that get close to reduce their HP and their resistances in general. So this is all like essential positioning, sticking to your carry as much as possible, essentially being another support. And yeah, it's just a lot of the positioning here that you're seeing is very, very important. Now, at this point as well, giving the red buff to Vayne, very good. I'm pretty sure I would have a lot of, yeah, he has like 1300 gold, should be able to buy a decent item here. He's a bunch of, I don't know about this one. I definitely think he should have finished one of his items and made a choice. But this is just a bunch of item options, I guess, or pre-items. It's not something I would agree with a lot, but I mean, it is what it is, I suppose. Olaf pushes up, walks out of position, uses a Trundle pillar. Like, one of the good things about Trundle into Olaf as well, Olaf cannot run through the pillar. So if you use it properly, you can still slow him down a little bit, even though the slowing effect has no effect on him. But yeah. Another important thing to note there is that he auto attacks and keeps walking. So he auto attacks with the Olaf, not just auto attacking and letting him get away. Auto attacking and leading right here, using his W as well. And everything to just try to put the Olaf, slow the Olaf as much as possible for their Vayne to catch up. Off of that, they should technically be able to do a Baron here, because Vayne does have a lot of Baron damage. And if the Trundle can just avoid the debuff on Vayne, that's good. Now again, positioning, standing as close to the Vayne as possible, making sure that he he hasn't ulted the target yet, which is very interesting. I think he had a very good opportunity to just ult something right here. Because if he ults this guy at this moment in time, that will make him very vulnerable to just get one shot by Vayne, because he loses a significant amount of resistances. Also makes Trundle more tanky as well. Another option right now would be to ult this guy. Just look for any ultimate opportunity in this case, because the enemy team, this specific situation, doesn't necessarily have an aftershock target or a very prime target you want to use it on. So it's just an ultimate that you want to use to allow your carry to hit one of the closest enemies, and then also like steal their resistances, making you more tanky in the process. So that's something to look for. The entire positioning here was sticking as close to his Vayne as possible. Again, this is very important. And right now, the Trundle leading, and then with the Q stealing the attack damage, making it very, very difficult for the Olaf to land a kill on him, and allowing Vayne to pick up that kill again. Takes Cuddle, gets a reset off, has a decent amount of gold, and this is where his first support item, or first main item comes in, sorry. He should have had this a lot sooner, I'm not gonna lie. Like, this is fairly ineffective. If he just completed like this item, for example, a lot sooner, that would have been a lot more efficient for team fights and for fights in general, to allow Vayne to do a lot more. But, well, I mean, he gets it now, so it's whatever. At some downtime, the Vayne just reset, so it can take some camps in this process. His team decided to engage off of a Vayne reset or take a fight, which isn't ideal. As soon as one of your, as soon as the hyper carry, basically the Vayne is the hyper carry right now with good supportive setup from the rest of the team. As soon as they back, you don't want to fight, because there's no point. You don't want to fight without your strongest member, without the one that does the most DPS. His team, however, does decide to do that, and then they lose their life. This could have been a triple death, but it was a double death. I think Yon might survive in this situation. Trundle went for the right situation and actually went to just chill, farm his camps, wait for the dragon to spawn, which would have been a little bit more ideal. Yeah. Now Vayne goes in. I mean, gets kind of lucky. He could have died for that very, very easily. However, he does clean up the team fight. Trundle right now zoning the Olaf away from not flanking the Vayne, which is good. And right now they should just go for the dragon to pick up the soul off of that fight. In any other situation, if you see an opportunity like this and your main carry backs, there is absolutely no reason for you to take a fight. So please just don't do that. placing a very nice pillar there, cutting off the lugs. This is ideal pillar placement. If you can use your pillar to just make team fighting for the enemy team as hard as possible, or escape routes like impossible, that's the ideal way. As you can see right here, this right here allows the Lux to go pretty much nowhere. She's stuck there. It is that this is an Olaf. In any other case, this guy would have been pretty screwed as well, being slowed from this position, allowing Vayne to catch up. So a very, very neatly placed pillar there allows like the Yone to pick up the kill on Lux right there. That's really all there is to team fighting with this guy. Sticking towards his carry. Again, at all times, you see them together. They are walking next to each other. Trundle is making a point of sticking next to the Vayne, which is very, very good. And just like peeling for her as much as possible, using the pillar as much as possible to allow Vayne to have as much free time as she can have. Alright, now they can take a Baron off this. They have a man advantage. Currently the Lux is dead. And also the Thresh and the Syndra opt to go for like the flank on Lee Sin. One thing he didn't really like do well here is something that you need to take note of as well. At any point, any champion you play, please realize whoever has the most damage output on the Baron at that moment in time should not be tanking the Baron. Whether it's you, like whether let's say you're playing a Mumu jungle with like Leander's Rylai's and you're just W burning the Baron down at a massive rate, you should not be tanking the Baron. In this specific situation, the Vayne is also like doing the most damage, so he needs to have this Baron gaze debuff. This unit deals 50% damage, reduced damage to Baron. So at any point, the Trundle actually needs to make sure that he keeps the Baron aggro on him, so the Vayne will be able to do as much damage as possible to burn Baron down. Which is something he does right here. Like walking for him in this specific spot doesn't really do anything. He might as well stand right here, because if at any point he would have to flash over, he can just do that at that point. There's no reason for him to stand next to the wall, because he doesn't have any ranged abilities apart from his pillar, which he's already used. Now in this case, the Vayne takes the Baron, like the Baron gaze debuff. She does misposition herself. So that isn't ideal either, but he should have been trying his best to keep the Baron gaze debuff so Vayne could do as much damage to Baron as possible. Now in this case it doesn't necessarily matter a whole lot, but if situations arise, make sure that you are tanking the Baron debuff, or that like if you're not doing the most damage, tank the Baron debuff in general. That's just a very important thing. Alright, this is all very, very good. Like they know Lee Sin is still alive. So they're waiting, they're not damaging Baron, they're not allowing Lee Sin to get the damage on Baron. This is like, if you're playing this in lower elos, and it frustrates me a lot as a jungler myself, if you are going for Baron plays, people just do not stop hitting the Baron. They just think, oh, we need to burst this Baron as soon as possible, and then 2 seconds later the Baron gets stolen by the enemy jungler because they didn't wait, and Lee Sin does definitely have better execute potential on Baron than Trundle does. So that's definitely not something you want to like risk or like play for really. So yeah. Making sure again, using his Knight's Vow on Vayne, following Vayne wherever she goes, sticking next to Vayne in every situation, making sure to use pillars to peel for Vayne, and like all of that. If you have a hyper carry, like basically just stick on them at all times. Waiting for Vayne, making sure to walk with Vayne as much as possible. Vayne gets ready, takes 1 camp, waits for Vayne to do something, instantly runs back to the Vayne again. Pretty much. This was a slight misposition on his part actually. He shouldn't have come in from that side, because this doesn't really do anything apart from get him engaged on. He will take a lot of free damage walking in this way. If he walks right now here, like down, maybe even flash over the wall could be an option. But he just wants to get to his carry at this moment in time. That's more ideal than going from this side. However, going from this side does allow him to take aggro away from his team, which is decent. But it would have been a little bit better for him to position here, because now, yeah, he just takes a lot of free damage. Vayne gets a very nice cleanup situation right there, and they just pretty much win the game off that. But really, that's all you have to do on Trundle. Trundle is a very basic champion, is a very good tank counter champion as well, so playing against any tanks or any people that use Aftershock, just using ult on those targets is very effective. Sticking next to your hyper carry as much as possible, using as many pillars as possible, and just your Q to reduce damage on people that jump on her and everything. That's the ideal way you want to play this champion. And yeah, If you guys have enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button below. This does help me out quite a bit. Also, come join our community on the Discord. There is a link in the description. Make sure to come hang out, ask questions there if you are interested. And yeah, I also do stream on Twitch, so if you want to follow me there, there's also a link in the description for that. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!